you're in a B movie, you're not.
You are. You are in a B movie.
It's a B sprint.
That's good. Okay, everyone dance.
Okay. Please let me know when Jake arrives.
Yeah,
And
I'm sorry about that guy who says, oh, the song is really weird.
I think it's great stuff. This old stuff, you know?
I'm doing my best.
I need more champagne.
I think we should just sing along and make it more interesting.
Emptied my glass. Oh, cool. Oh, and Ella also prepared one.
Woo! Hey, Steph, it's the O dance.
Okay, everyone clap.
Thanks, everyone.
Everyone clap.
We are already live, you know? We are already on YouTube live.
Are we?
Yes, we are.
Oh.
What is with my camera?
So for the YouTube people, this is a royalty-free music, so it's really bad. Sorry about that.
I hope you brought your champagne.
Yeah, go get a drink.
Don, you already have your champagne? I
Though I kind of like the percussion behind the background.
Okay, please let me know when Jake arrives that I can bring him on camera as well.
Okay. There's a lot of people. Please turn on your camera, please.
Oh, there's a question already from Stefan. Do you play this music during your sprint?
No.
No, never.
Better music.
No.
The thing is that when you try to play actually good music, you can't because you get blocked on YouTube. So that's the reason why we have to go the cheap and free way. It's royalty free.
What we are considering now is to do some live music on our sprints.
Of course.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Woo!
23. Everybody.
It's amazing.
thank you. Thanks.
Where's the music, Steph? Come on.
I don't know. Should we so are we still waiting for Jake? Yeah, we are. Okay, so 1, 2. The same song.
And let's wait.
That's the theme. It's
No,
the theme. It's
the
like,
bass is good.
Yeah, this is better.
J1. Jake, Knapp, you late. Jake, Knapp. I should have known, I should have gotten more music actually. He's always late.
Maybe you guys, you didn't know that you are here to dance. So there will be just dancing the whole night.
We have nothing prepared.
that's it. To really bad music.
No, we also will do something else. So let me just start. So I think I start, and then what do you think, John? Can we start? And Jake, he will
Join.
Jake has a flair for the dramatics, so this late arrival will only heighten his moment of appearance.
Fashionably late. Fashionably.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So guys, I want to share already with you. You are here in the audience.
Jake.
The board. Jake, you're here.
Yeah. Hey, Jake. You're late,
Okay,
but we still love you.
You missed the good music, actually.
Yeah, let's play.
It wasn't
one.
that good.
Where is he?
It was legal, but it wasn't good.
I need to find him.
Legal. Yeah.
Oh, I have a Santa hat. I'll be right back.
Okay, I found him. Great. So I already shared the board with you. So whoever wants to share a sprint story with us, you can just prepare that and put it on the board. So let me share with you the link in the chat. In the chat.
So
It has to be
a lot
on
of
the
numbers.
board.
Okay, here you are. So now in the chat you will find the link. Hi, Jake.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, very nice hat.
Thank you.
Do we have
Not
to use the
for a smaller
template?
head size than
So-
mine.
Right.
So Sabrina, there's a question from Natalie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have to use the template? Actually,
You just can
join.
copy. You now when you are on the board, you just can copy paste. You can just use whatever is there and copy. and
Natalie,
paste.
just put like one picture there. It doesn't matter, and then just explain. It doesn't have to be like whatever, you know.
Just
Okay.
roll something there.
It's fine.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. So let's start. So I want to welcome you to the Design Sprint Stuttgart meetup. And I was looking for some data. It's end of the year. And this is now event number 72 since 2018. I'm really happy about that. So I didn't thought that it's already so many. And I want to thank you all for the support to all of you in the community. And since this is the last meetup for 2020, and it's also one of our highlights this year, and we really want to appreciate the development of a framework that means so much to all of us, and that, let's say, changed our business, and not our business, but also our lives. So let's say my family changed as well, so that affects many more. And we are so honored to have you, Jake and Sean, here to celebrate with us. So that really means a lot for us, and that we celebrate this special milestone. But before I introduce all of you, I would just like to let you know some stuff. So we will record this session, and we are already live streaming. So whatever you tell us, let's say later on the stories, be aware that this is a live stream. So think about if you can if this is compliant. So just to let you know. And this is a network event for our community. So I invite you to share your LinkedIn profiles here on the board. We will just share that again and again in the chat. So to all the people who come later, that they have the access as well. So use the board, put your LinkedIn there and just network. And there you have also many more things. So I would like to share the board quickly with you, because we prepared some stuff for you. And
That's a four.
now
How do you add your LinkedIn?
Just copy the URL and paste it directly onto the board. That's very simple.
Thanks.
So sorry, Steph, I have to stop your screen sharing. So this is the board. So you see here many nice nice pictures. So illustrations. My son did them.
Hey, everyone clap for.
Julius, he's also here somewhere in the crowd. And here is the part for the community. Here you have everything about Jake and John, all the links, which I found. So if you have more links, put them there. There is something about me. Someone already deleted something. Okay, I will add that. Oh, it's here. Yeah, that's okay. You see, this is one of the biggest problems. I just forget to lock the board. So this is something you can just consider. If you're a facilitator, remote, just lock the board. Your hosts today are not only me, but also Orit and Steph. So thanks for organizing. And you can put questions here, and here you see the board. So here, if you like to add stories, just add them here. But you can also tell us stories just like without the template. So that's what I want to tell you about just housekeeping. But now I would like to start. Sorry, Jake and John, you just have to wait for a little moment because I would like to introduce Orit, Igle, and Steph. I just want to start with Orit. So we met the first time in London at a Level Up event with Design Sprint people, let's say from Agent Smart and the group, the Level Up group, and also many more times. And Orit, you're always there when I need help, so thanks for that. Ditto. And Igle and Steph, I know directly, we know each other from, I think, already 2 years ago in Lausanne. And you created this amazing deep dive with Jake in the Swiss Alps. So also there, you're always there to help. Thanks for that as well. And I would like to hand it over to Orit to introduce herself, but I would like to ask you to introduce yourself from another point of view, from another perspective. And that's what does the design sprint means for you? So where did the design sprint change something? And I want to start with that and just tell you how that changed, let's say, my perception. I was always the person who created ideas. And now with the framework, I had the opportunity to be to have the ability to make others create these great ideas. And that was really a pivoting moment for me and created so much energy. So that was my aha moment. And now I would like to hand over to Orit and introduce yourself with your aha moment.
Okay, so I'm Orit. And I think my aha moment was really the fact that the design sprint was turned out to be the research itself, because I was always like used to researching before and doing all this stuff. And then suddenly I was like, it took me a while because like I'm a slow learner. So, but then like, I was like, wait a minute, that is the research, that is the research, even though like you have an amazing prototype and all that stuff. So that's one thing, one aha moment. And then I love the fact that everything moves so fast and it's just like a fast forward, but with a smile. Like everyone's having a good time. It's a fast forward with a smile. I make more money. Hey, hands up. all right. And I love how it informs the rest of the work. Like, other product work, like the fact that like you can use these principles for like actually creating the rest of the product is amazing, game changer. Thank you.
So Steph, what was your pivoting moment, your aha moment?
I don't know.
You have many, right?
Yeah, but I started so early. I started 5 years ago, and I discovered the methodology by chance because I came up to design sprint, these two words, and I wrote them, and I even bought the domain name at the time, and then I discovered what Jake and John had created. And when actually I discovered the first website, the first blog article, I was like, what? That was it. That's exactly what I had in mind, except they had already been doing it for 5 or 6 years, crazy experience. And it was so good. And, I asked Jake, can I do it? Am I allowed to do it? Because it took And he said yes, and here we are. So, you know, like it has been my life for the last 5 years. It's even my clothes. Look at that. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here, and it really means a lot, this birthday. And thank you, Jake and John, for being here, of course.
Yeah, thanks to you. So last time it was May when we met here in this environment, and I'm really happy that you are here. Thanks for coming. And it was a huge learning curve. I just remember when we talked about the remote design sprints, you know, and now I would like to hand it over to you and just introduce yourself, maybe from the point of view, I would like to know how everything started, not the long story, but maybe what was the point where you identified, oh, that's something really meaningful. I know that something happened. Who would like to start? John, do you want to start?
Sure. We'll be going out of chronological order, but that's okay. I think it'll add to the quality and depth of the story. Sabrina, I was really similar to you. I was, you know, I had been working as a designer for probably about 10 years in software companies. And I was used to being the person who was coming up with the ideas, who was supposed to have the answers. And, you know, every new team I joined, there was a learning curve to, you know, supposedly become the expert on the product and the customers and all these things. And that worked okay when I would stay at a job for, you know, a year or 3 years or whatever. But then when I joined Google Ventures in 2011, suddenly I was in this job where I was supposed to go to a different startup like every couple of weeks. And I was supposed to like be the expert for all of them. And at first I kind of faked it. At first I was like, here's what I think you should do. I've got a great idea. But very quickly it was like, well, that's not going to work. There's no way that I can have the answers for all of these different companies. And the questions that they had were really big. They were like, fundamentally, like, what product are we building? Like, how are we going to find customers? Like really important, significant stuff. And so around that time, me and Braden and Michael at Google Ventures, we had, you know, we all knew Jake, and we had like heard about these things called design sprints that he had been doing. And so I don't actually remember the first time that Jake and I met. I don't remember like that initial meeting, but I definitely remember the very first design sprint we did. And it was so different from the way that design sprints look now, but all the pieces were there. And so it was like, just immediately, it was like, okay, this is such a better way of working because we don't have to have the answers. We can help other people find the answers. We can help teams really come together and focus on what they need to do to move their business forward. And so that was really the aha moment for me. That was the story. And then, you know, from there, as you all know, we spent a number of years refining the process, sharing it, getting feedback, et cetera. But maybe this would be a good time to go even further back in time and hear about everything that happened, Jake, before you joined us at Google Ventures.
Yeah, so I'm not good at telling concise versions of things, but I'll try.
Yeah, all privately, you know, it's all fine.
So the first, I was talking about this with John recently about like, he was like, well, what was like the first design sprint, even if it, you know, wasn't called a design sprint? And I think there were two things that happened for me in 2009. So it's 11 years ago, that like they were design sprints, but I didn't realize it yet. And I had been working in, I had been making software and stuff since I was a kid, really, and which is quite a long time ago. But I had been working professionally as a product designer for about 10 years. And I guess long enough to realize that maybe it shouldn't have taken me so long, that like everybody does not have it figured out. Like the way that things happen, even at these companies that from the outside seem like they're really sophisticated, like a lot of it doesn't make sense. And a lot of it is just sort of chaotic and sort of just reactions to other people and just sort of like, oh, we're in a meeting, let's talk, blah, blah, blah. And there are plenty of things that get built and launched that are dumb, and there's not really a great reason behind why that thing versus something else. And there are lots of cool ideas that don't get started. And and there's not always a great reason why they don't, even though they're there and people are talking about them and thinking about them. And I had these two experiences in 2009 where I was working with just one or two, well, actually both cases I guess was teams of 3, and we focused for a week at a time. One of them was this project that eventually became Google Meet, and one of them was this project on Gmail called Priority Inbox. And in both cases, they were 20% projects, things that were side projects that we were trying to turn into a real thing. And we used this idea of like, well, we can take a week of time, or in one case it was like 4 weeks. And so it was like 4 back-to-back sprints. And basically my idea was like, let's just make a prototype in this week. Instead of talking a bunch, well, let's like focus all our time, work together, make a prototype. And in the year between those really successful, what were design sprints, but I didn't call them that, and 2010, when I realized, hey, there's something to that, I went back to working the normal way and realized how slow and annoying and non-productive it was. And then in 2010, I thought, man, I wonder if there's a way to recreate sort of the magic that happened in those weeks and make that a thing and take that around Google. And so I put together this pitch for something I called a design sprint. I'll show you guys some of my notes. If you're curious here, I can share my screen. Let's see if I can open up the right thing here. My computer for some reason is very slow today. I'm not sure why, so I apologize in advance for this maybe being kind of laggy. But let's see, share screen.
But your computer is really slow, but your camera is like amazing. What kind of camera?
It's probably why. It's probably because the camera is just so many pixels in there.
Yeah.
Like so many pixels of my weird head.
We all know it's actually all the Bitcoin that Jake is mining.
Yeah, it's just mining Bitcoin like crazy in the background. So this is just like, these are just early, like, this is just my notebook from when I was sort of starting to think about like, what are projects that we could do design sprints on, and like how could it sort of work? And so there's that thing. And then I was kind of thinking about this. I pitched it to my boss, Irene Au. She like ran design at Google, and I was like, and I had this kind of dumb idea that I should be put in charge of the team in Seattle, the Seattle offices where I worked, as a way to do design sprints, which in hindsight, it's like totally pointless. Like you don't need to have, it was actually like became a hindrance to me doing design sprints, but she, like Irene Au was huge because she like listened to my kind of crazy pitch, and I didn't have any evidence. I didn't have a lot of evidence that this thing worked. And she was like, okay, like try it, go for it. And so I ran the first design sprint, and I have here, I'll share some photos from the first design sprint.
Oh my God.
Which is in 2010. So let's see. And you guys are gonna laugh when you see it, because it doesn't look like the way a design sprint is supposed to look. But it was called a design sprint. And basically what it was a 1-day like big workshop. It's basically like a brainstorming workshop, which I would now say like, don't do this at all. And then like 4 days of a bunch of designers, and not a bunch, like there was maybe me and like 2 or 3 other designers and like a couple product managers, just sort of locked in this conference room with no windows, making designs all day, each of us working on our own thing. And then at the end of the week, we had like our own like competing ideas for how to better handle contacts in Gmail. So how could we better integrate contacts into Gmail? That was the first design sprint. And so I'll share that here too. So let's see.
Sabrina, are we recording?
Yes.
This is cool.
This is the
recording and live streaming.
Amazing. Never seen before.
This is the first like day of the first design sprint. You can see there are like 30 people who all look pretty unhappy in the room. All just like arms crossed, like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? I mean, like this guy is just super bored. Like everybody hates it, but they did it. They did it.
It's so, only guys.
It's all dudes. It's all dudes. Yeah, and they're just. It's not. Yeah, this is just like kind of a. I mean, again, in hindsight, like the hypothesis was we make a prototype in a week, we make a thing in a week, and we make competing ones. That was kind of the extent of it. I was trying to recapture the magic of those, the three of us working together and making prototypes. And my first attempt was really not great. This is the sort of the windowless, I mean, there are windows, but they just face to the hallway. Like war room where we were doing all of the work, and you can see like sketches, and then in the end, like sort of prototypes on the printouts on the wall. And we just like, we would just do critiques every day, and every day we were like making the prototypes more and more realistic. It's like 4 days of working on prototypes. But what ended up being super cool about this was that it was lucky, was that one of the designers, this guy, Jason Cornwall, he designed a thing that's super simple, which is it was an idea he had before the sprint, but the sprint allowed it to have a spotlight and get momentum, to have the contact info on the right side of the screen while you're looking at your messages. And so if you open up an email, the contact info is there, which seems really obvious, but it didn't work that way in Gmail before the sprint. And that was like, people were like, wow, that's cool, let's build that. And they built it, and I don't know if it's in Gmail now because I use Superhuman, which does have it, but it's pretty great. It's a really nice design. And thanks to Jason, like I now had evidence that you can do this thing called a design sprint, and like cool stuff will happen. And so over the next couple of years, I did a bunch of different design sprints around Google, and that story I'm sort of told. But that was the first sprint, and that was kind of, there was this moment there where I was like, okay, even though I could tell right after that was over that had been like, that was not the right recipe, but there was something about getting everybody focused on a thing and then creating a prototype all the way through. It wasn't a workshop where we walked away and just had sticky notes, but we created a prototype that was really powerful. And so then when I got to Google Ventures, I had refined it a bit, but then when I started working with John, we started adding a test at the end of each week. We started really tuning it to what a startup needs. We were able to work so closely with founders throughout the week and really tune it to what a business needs. That's when we started to have this other aha moment, which is like, wow, this can work for any business. And so that was probably the next big aha moment. And then we decided to start sharing it, wrote blog posts about it, and started to hear back from people that, not what I was hoping, which was they would say, wow, Jake's so smart, I want to do work with Google Ventures because Jake's so smart. But actually they were like, oh, the design sprint works fine, we can do it on our own, which was another aha moment of like a different kind. And then, since then, it's just been like hearing people's stories about different ways that they apply it. And it's been over and over again, this idea that like, wow, this is cool, this thing works.
Everyone, big round of applause for Mr. Jake Knapp. Amazing, man. Really, really cool.
Yes, and I think the fact that it's a framework that works in every situation, I think this is the beauty in the framework, because if you put some very, let's say, some great designers into a room, you can go out with a wonderful prototype. It can work. There's a great concept, but the design sprint makes it applicable for all kinds of different situation, weird situation, and let's say difficult situation, difficult teams. I think that's the beauty of it. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about weird situation, maybe we can just ask you if you can share maybe a funny, weird, whatever story from a design sprint with us. Because we prepared something here and we want to invite people to share their, let's say, funny stories. So what is less about how impactful or what a wonderful product came out of that, but let's say more about what kind of strange situations you had with the design sprint. So do you have something to share with us? I'm sure you can. Maybe whatever weird situation.
Are you asking us, Sabrina? Or are you asking the bigger
120%?
We prepared something, but if you like to start, you can start. If not, I ask Steph.
Oh no! Why
to start?
I'll share one. John,
thank you.
It's actually one of the last sprints that I ran at Google Ventures, and Okay, so you know how you probably know that like one of the top questions people have about design sprints is, does it have to take 5 days? That's so much time. You know, can I do it faster? Can I do it shorter? And now we know that you can, you know, within reason. You can't make it 2 days. You can't make it 3 days, but like you can do it in 4 days. It's possible. But back in 2017, this was before I left Google Ventures, I was still like, no, I think you need 5 days. And I had gone to Seattle to work with one of our startups on a sprint. And I knew somebody who worked at the company, a really good friend of mine that had hired me many years before. So we had talked a lot about the company and the challenges. We start the sprint. We do the first day, Monday, by the book. Everything's going great. It feels, you know, really like we're sharing, you know, everybody's sharing their insights. We're getting a great map, et cetera. And we get to the very end of Monday, and you know, everybody, you know, is saying, here's what I think the target is. Here's what I think we should do. These are the most important questions. And finally, I turned to the CEO, the decider. I'm like, okay, what do you think? You know, are we on the right track here? And he's like, I think we're doing the sprint on the wrong thing. I was like, what? He's like, I think we chose the wrong project. Like, this is all really interesting, but I think we chose the wrong project. And I was like freaking out. Cause like most of the sprints that I had been in before, like I had co-facilitated, I had been with Jake or somebody else, but I was by myself. I was in Seattle, had done, you know, burned a full day on this. And so we talked a bunch about it. And I said, okay, tomorrow morning, we're going to come back in the office. And Matt, that was the name of the CEO. I said, Matt, you get to decide, you're the decider, if you want to keep going on this project or you want to start over. I don't know if it's going to work, but we can try starting over the sprint. And he decided to start over. So it was like Monday never happened. Tuesday we started from scratch, literally, you know, okay, what's the long-term goal? And that was my first time really compressing it down, like, or I should say compressing it down in a way that felt like it still really worked. And it was interesting too, because like Monday went really, really well because we had just done it. So it was like we got it like a full day of practice doing Monday, and we got to do it for real. So the team was really like engaged and they knew what was coming. So yeah, that's my weird sprint story.
I'll share one too, and mine is like it's a little name droppy, but it's important for the context of the story. So like in the first year that I was at Google Ventures, we go to do this sprint with this company, and the company was, the founders of the company were the founders of YouTube. And John, who was in the sprint with me, knew them because he had worked on YouTube for a long time and was a lead designer there. But to me, these guys are like celebrities. So I just remember going in the room, and it's like early enough on where like at this point we have like a good, like the recipe is not like totally dialed in, but like, you know, we've got the steps right, but we haven't like totally locked in on the number of days. So I think we were doing like a 6-day or 7-day sprint or something, but like we're narrowing in on it. But I realized like, oh my God, like we get in the room and, you know, John's like, oh, hey, Chad, hey, Steve. And I'm like, you know, like, yeah, hey guys. And then like, you know, you sort of, but they're nice. And like, you sort of, there's the pleasantries of meeting anybody and you sit around the table or whatever. And then I realized like, okay, it's time to start doing the thing. You know, everybody's kind of looking expectantly at us, like it's time to start doing the thing. And I'm like, I right now am going to try to give like advice on how to spend a week of time to these guys who started YouTube. Like I have no idea. They don't know how dumb I am. Like they don't know how little I know. And then we like start doing it, you know, we start doing the sprint and you know, everybody's just like going along with it. And then at some point I realized like, oh my gosh, like they're going to go along with it. And like, this might actually work. Like the sprint process there might be something to this. But that was a really like, that was wild. And like, we definitely had a lot of times during our time at GV when we would work with, you know, with founders who we'd heard of. And if you know, you'd have to be a nerd like us probably to have heard of all these folks, but like, it was a really, every single time it was this like crazy experience to see that even these folks who are so smart would benefit from having an outside person come in and provide some structure, you know, for a week. And I still haven't gotten to the point where I feel 100% comfortable with that when you have the the founder, like the big boss in the room. But that one in particular was like, so I felt so weird and bizarre. And I can, even talking about it, I can like easily reconjure the nervousness that I felt trying to run my checklist with these folks.
Jake, you left out the most important part of the story. That was the week we discovered the energy zapping power of eating burritos for lunch. You remember that?
The office was right next door to this.
Oh no!
This place had great burritos, and so we're like, day one we like get burritos, and then we're like in the afternoon we're like, oh my god, we're like so tired, and then we're like, oh,
and then of course we had coffee.
Really
we're like, we're too tired, we need coffee, and then we got like over caffeinated.
Then there was another place up the street,
and I didn't realize how nervous you were, Jake.
I know. Well, I hit it well. There's the place that had the Indian food burritos too. So there were like burritos, and then there were like burritos made out of Indian food, and we alternated between those for like just going back and forth because they were both really good. And then finally, I don't know who it was you're like, we've got to it was probably John. He's like, we've got to try a different lunch. This is killing our afternoon.
Can we get a salad?
Yeah. Thus spawned the no burrito rule of the design sprint.
I think it's something really I liked when I read the book. It looks so nerdy and so detailed. Like, you're advising what kind of food to eat, but there is a reason. It's because you've been there. You've tried, you've made your experiences, and everything's in the book does work, and that's for a reason.
Yeah, and it still works.
Yeah.
Also, I think everyone changed a bit, but it still works like that. So.
And before we move on, I would just like, we prepared like a birthday cake for you guys.
That is amazing. Wow.
So let's sing. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, God, to Spring.
To the Sprinty. Happy birthday to you.
Saddest song ever.
And now
it's really bad.
The music's not doing well, guys, this time. But so make a wish and blow it out, and then I'll do it like effects, So just make a wish for.
You ready for us to blow out the candles? Ready?
Yes. Woo!
Yeah.
Amazing!
Okay.
You're almost getting into it, Steph.
Yeah, so
watch it.
Yeah.
So I have to explain again to Jake, this song is so bad, but basically we don't want that stream to be blocked by YouTube because of copyright. So we just took a royalty-free song, and that's the only one I found. So sorry.
We're taking you into a B movie.
Exactly.
All right, so let's continue. Sorry.
Yeah, all right, you prepared something. So
actually no, let's go over the board. I would say let's just go over the board.
Yeah, because I think maybe we all want to hear some stories. So now we don't have that in a row, all right? So I think
we don't. We can't do numbers.
So I will prepare the board quickly. I will just
Sabrina. So just because we prepared like a hat with numbers, but since. To call out the stories, but that's not going to work. So Sabrina, just call them out,
No, Jake has to call them out.
Jake, you call them out.
Yeah.
Oh, I mixed up something. Sorry.
It's gonna be.
That's me. Sorry, but okay. Jake, you can choose one, and John, you can choose one. Tell me a number, or just you are on the board?
No. Can you share your screen?
So I will share that again. Oh, can someone share it?
Maybe I can find it. Hold on.
Wait.
Okay.
I'm opening
People
it
in the audience are faster than me. Okay, but let's pick someone, not Steph, Orit and me. We share that later. Let's get someone from the. We don't have many.
We're.
So the stories, if you guys have stories, if you're like, oh, I would like to say that, you don't need to prepare a crazy story, whatever. But if you have one image to illustrate or just one story, please pick a number. You write the catchy title, you add one image, and you're gonna have time to tell your story.
Maybe we just start with Yasit. There are not many, but Yasit, do you want to share?
That will be amazing.
You want to have music?
No.
Drum roll, drum roll.
Drum rolls. Okay.
So should I show you? Oh no, I'll tell you the story. So this is soon after the book. We were setting up a new design team in our organization. Fresh graduates hired from computer science school, no design background, and we were thinking, okay, how can we onboard them fast and get the sense of what is design is all about. So after a bit of thinking, we decided, okay, let's run a design sprint, 5 full-day design sprint, and with some twists. So we created the semi-fake problem, which is actually organizational problem, but we didn't want to scare the managers off. So then we ran the sprint for 5 days. And during that sprint, we thought, okay, we can be smarter than Jake and John. So we tried many different hacks, including creating this during the art gallery activity. We want to create huge posters. So we use massive papers with instead of Post-it, we used A4 papers. So I wrote a blog also regarding that. We want to try giant sketches, and the end story is we fail horribly. We learned that going out of the script at that start early is a terrible idea. And it was funny when people get massive papers, they started writing their entire life story in those papers. So bottom line, rather than new 5 people getting on board about design, 2 of us who facilitated learned a lot on what to do and what not to do in design space. So it's my most memorable as well as the first one.
That's a great story. I love that you kept doing it after that, because that's actually like a very reasonable, that's a very reasonable thing to try. I don't think that sounds crazy at all. So thank you for continuing to try after that one didn't work.
Thanks, Jake.
I see here something from Maria. She facilitated the first 45 minutes. Maria, you are here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Nice hat.
I'm the number 23 in the mural. 23. So I'll explain quickly what happened. It was not a design sprint per se, but it was like a 2-day kind of workshop, virtual. And what happens was like half an hour before the meeting, my modem was doing something wrong. So I had no internet. And then 30 minutes turned into 20 minutes, turned into 10 minutes before the meeting. And I was facilitating it and I was getting very, very nervous. And so I asked other people to share at least the screen, and I managed to call in. And I was just facilitated. Well, I had the slides, I had prepared the slide, but I didn't have them in front of me. And it was very terrible for me. And I tried to do it naturally and present some people and do like the sequence was gonna be. And after like 45 minutes, I got internet again, and I entered in the normal form. And I don't know if people noticed a lot. I of course said it, but yeah, I think it's not a huge thing, but you realize when you're doing something virtually and you have no internet. Also, the hotspot from the phone didn't work. Oh, I felt so lost.
That's great, Basha.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story, Maria. I see that.
Hey, we
that,
can clap. We can clap.
Yeah, please.
It's hard to share these stories, you know.
Yes, they are hard.
It feels painful.
That is like my nightmare. And before every sprint, I'm so nervous that it's not going to work. And the first hour is the hardest. The first day is the hardest. The first hour is the hardest of the hardest. I cannot imagine having to, having like a major. Oh my gosh! Did it all did it sort of come together?
Yeah. At the end, it did. When we were going to work together, and I was gonna send the teams to the groups, and so I had control. So yeah, that worked. But it was horrible because I didn't know when it was gonna be, and it was. I don't know if somebody from the Stuttgart area was having these issues here in Germany. We had one day where Vodafone didn't work. And so, you had it, Sabrina. So the modem didn't work and the phone didn't work. So you're lost. You're
Can I ask when that was? I wonder if it was international.
It was in November 5th. November 5th. It was a Monday.
Yeah, it was a Monday. Exactly. I remember. It was the same here. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that story. I see a story from Margriet. Margriet, you want to share?
Hey guys.
Hello. I'm here with Robert, of course.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hello, good to see everybody. No, actually, I was my memory was jogged by Jake's story of the burritos. So I think it was when we were starting with sprints. It was about 4 years ago, I think. And I was in Madrid running a sprint. And the team didn't want to give up on their lunch ritual, which was 3 courses and bottles of wine and 2-hour breaks. So there I was still, very structured. It was especially in the beginning when I was like, okay, the process works, but as long as I stick to the process, I'm like in control. But then every day it was, bottles of red wine and, 3 courses for lunch. And it was, I learned loads about keeping up energy and focus after bottles of wine. Let's keep it that way. But it's definitely a good memory. And I think my learning there, which is actually not too different from like online sprints that we're doing now, is I think what's beautiful for the sprint is just having very short, how do I say, like, focus areas. So like 20 minutes, okay, do this, and then 5 minutes, do this, and then 20. So that also works well with alcohol. So same with alcohol or being online, I think that's, I learned early on how to keep teams focused, I think, with that sprint.
It's a good one.
Good to hear.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for sharing. Who wants to be next? So what do I see here on the board? I see Leslie Foreman. Leslie.
Hello. Hi, Sabrina. How are you?
Hi. Fine. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Here. I'm really curious to hear your story.
Yeah. So my story is I was inspired to put on an event called Design Sprint Sexual Health. And it was a side project. I did it on a Saturday here in San Francisco, but I had just started working as a UX researcher for a big tech company. And I attended an event on a Saturday called Design Sprint Immigration that was basically using the Design Sprint framework to think about immigration in new ways. And different groups were assigned to think about different populations of immigrants. And mine was focusing on the needs of working class, undocumented immigrants. And we came up with a concept that we called El Informador. It was a taco truck that provided legal advice, the idea of like combining something familiar and something unfamiliar. And I actually mentioned this to some lawyer friends and they were like, like there's a lot of papers involved in this and they could get greasy. So maybe having the legal clinic inside the taco truck wasn't the best idea, but maybe outside the taco truck. Anyways, it got us thinking, and it was a really diverse group of participants that had a lot of different ideas about immigration. And that same week I had been through some pretty intense medical experiences. And I was like, whoa, this would be fascinating. This workshop was amazing. I would love to put on an event same format, different topic. And I put on this event called Design Sprint Sexual Health. This was in 2016 on a Saturday. And I had an amazing group of speakers. General Assembly in San Francisco sponsored it, and they sent it out to their marketing list. We made it free. And like I hosted this 2 years in a row. The most memorable speaker that I had was somebody who was a sexual health educator for the blind. And she brought in a lot of 3D printed anatomical models that she uses to teach blind and visually impaired people about their bodies. It was awesome. But anyways, we went through this whole design sprint framework and got people talking, got people thinking in new ways, learning different methods, talking to people, and most importantly, talking about all sorts of topics that people don't always talk about, but really should. And what was the prototype? You know, the prototypes were all like presentations or skits. So it was just in the concept stage. And I brought all of this enthusiasm into my day job work. I have run tons of user research workshops, mostly with engineering teams to bring them into the process. But I just wanted to share that I had brought this into this sexual health framework. I have a little video that one of my participants made that I put on the board that you can watch if you want.
Yeah, I see that. Thanks. I get a question here. What was the prototype?
I don't think we made a prototype. It was a skit.
Okay.
But the one of the speakers had brought in her 3D printed anatomical models, but those were more her props than ours.
Okay. Thanks, Leslie.
Nice.
Okay, Steph, you want to choose the next one?
To choose one. Wait.
You know, you can also raise your hand in the Zoom. If you know how that works, you just have to go to your where you see this the participant, and then you can raise your hand there, your virtual hand. So that's all. That could be also a way if you don't have something to share on the board, you just can tell us.
I would like the one from Jean-Sébastien, A Chaotic Christmas. Sounds good. Jean-Seb?
Yeah, here I am. So basically, I've been doing workshop for past few years now, and it's always hard to explain people like how it works, why you should use notes and vote and everything. So with a group of friends, and where we try all these different kinds of workshop and sprints, instead of doing a usual Zoom meeting for Christmas, I created a workshop around different parts of the sprint called A Chaotic Christmas. So yeah, it was kind of funny. So we have like an ugly sweater Christmas contest here and there. So people can like choose their ugliest sweater. So it makes people like try to vote in a limited amount of time. There's a workshop called The Worst Gift, in which like people only write down why it's the worst gift, and then people try to speculate on what it could be. And then one of the exercises also we created an exercise around how might we's, but instead of being how might we's, it's you know what, S****. I cannot say it if you don't want to be censored here, but it's all about saying things about the worst party you ever had in the office. And there we also do like user journey map, but based around a bad Christmas family party, where at the end the turkey always start and combust and flame and everything's burned. So I did it 3 times already, and I'll be doing it with my family during the holidays, so they can see what I'm actually doing for a living, or some kind of thing I'm actually doing for a living.
Woohoo! So we can actually hire you if we want Bad Santa. We can
yeah,
get you to organize Christmas, right?
Sure. It's gonna be hard.
Good.
What about Ross? Do you have a story to share with us?
I haven't written anything.
Doesn't matter. I think you also have something in your mind. You could share.
Yeah, so a bit of an oddball, but it's the one that comes first to mind. Most of the design sprints I've ever done are around digital products, and this one that was not digital at all, out of my wheelhouse. And we had to print some posters for Jake, you'll know, Save the Children. And the day of prototyping, the printer didn't work.
Printing.
And we could not print anything. We started printing it, and instead of, we put like clip art animals in, and what it would do, it would print a square instead of a bear, and it would print a circle instead of a bird, and it was really embarrassing. So yeah, that was, we got around there in the end, but that was a disaster.
Was it your last physical prototype, or?
It was the last non-digital one I've done, yeah.
Makes sense.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. That's the kind of stories we want to hear. That's really nice. Can I call out someone else? Lee?
He's not here, unfortunately.
Lee is here.
Oh, he is.
Lee,
oh, yeah.
out there. I'm sure you have many stories to share.
I have a lot of stories. I would say I'm constantly learning. One of the biggest stories I would say is working with an external charity called Miracle Relief. And the thing there is we're trying to come up with a new way to develop currency for blockchain. And we did not know what to do at first, but actually just by using the sprint method, we're able to figure it out and come up with some examples. So that was probably my best application of the sprint.
Wow. Oops. Oh, no, I'm not gone. That was just...
We actually lost Sabrina.
That was me.
The world is collapsing.
Sabrina.
Thanks for sharing.
Sure. Yeah, I was trying to find a link, but yeah, it's called Miracle Relief Collaboration, and we were searching for a way just to kind of come up with some ideas with a bunch of folks that didn't have comfort with design, and by experimenting with the design sprint and putting it out there, it gave us a way, a map, a degree of confidence in how we could come up with solutions, and then ultimately, like I said, we came up with a blockchain solution for natural disaster. And I honestly believe that if we didn't have the map, it wouldn't have given us the confidence to have that meeting, to bring people together. It wouldn't have given us the ability to come up with really wild ideas. And it really was an example of how we were able to use it to produce something really productive and meaningful, aside from a lot of other ways that I typically use it. Like I've used the design sprint before to figure out what we're having for lunch or where we're going on vacation. We've done those things and they have a place. But like I said, it gave us a means and a methodology to come together, a group of folks, and come up with wild ideas. And now it's being built, it's real. And that was the result of the design sprint.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. There is a comment for you, Lee. Yassir, yeah. It's you who wrote, right?
A synchronous sprint, I guess that was from Yassir. Yeah, and I was part of that as well. So maybe you can share something there.
Asynchronous.
Yeah, I guess that it means, but I wanted to ask that as well, because this is really weird and maybe sounds a bit weird, but maybe you want to share that story.
I'll say a few words. So, I think it's important for all of us to constantly experiment. And although I've done a lot of sprints, nothing compared to a lot of you, I think there's, the classic sprint always works, as you said, Sabrina. You never can go wrong. If you're ever in question, just go back to the original sprint. You will not fail. But I continue to experiment and try to find better ways. And I work for a really big company, and it's difficult to have enough design sprinters available. So what we've experimented with, I think there are other folks in this virtual room that are also experimenting with it. But as far as asynchronous, how can you make use of tools and technology to make it so you can scale or get network effects, whatever you want to call it, with a sprint? And I think there's something that we can all work on together in developing an asynchronous technology stack. That's one where you can see what is the progress of the people in the sprint. You may be geographically isolated. You may be on the other side of the earth, but you can still keep it tight as far as conversation, knowing about the, understanding what is the progress of the team as far as finishing that sprint, allowing for communication, wholeness, being engaged. I think that is something we can all work on together as far as making it more asynchronous, using tools, using the technology stack, making it more transparent.
This is cool. Is this one of your personal idea, or is this something you're working on at IBM?
I've been working on it at IBM because we refer to it as a GIE, IBM Globally Integrated Enterprise, and we have humans basically everywhere on Earth, and we're working around the clock. And if you want to be effective, you've got to figure out a way around that, because you can't be all together. Everyone's going to be tired. Every once in a while, we'll run a sprint. We're all together, but people are working at really strange hours, and so you'll get that GIE fatigue, Zoom fatigue, whatever fatigue. You're super fatigued, and if you want to be sprinting frequently, often, being highly productive, you've got to find a way out of it. So I think using tools, using automation, we're experimenting with some automation tools, figuring out the stack, and making it feel similar as being in the same room, right? Because we all know, just like I have a daughter, and if she's not online and the teacher hasn't provided clear instruction as far as what to do for homework, sometimes the homework may not get done. So you've got to find a way to use social pressure, social cues, technology, transparency, fun, enjoyment. And I think that's something, especially the talent in this room could figure out. And that would be a complement to the design sprint. Nothing could ever replace the original design sprint because it's just awesome. But I think it is a nice adjunct to the current process with using tools, and especially when we're apart like this in a pandemic, having that skill or something like that in your back pocket, I think would be quite useful.
Thank you, Lee. So after all the very smart things that Lee just said, I have something very stupid to share with you. Are you with me? Yeah. So it's number 9 on the board. I got a huge fail during one of my design sprints, and you know that moment. So you can see on the number 9, there is a crowded table with everyone sketching, solution sketch, and they are all into it. They spend, like 1 hour sketching the solution sketch, and at the end of the solution sketches, I'm like asking the decider to give me his sketch, so I could actually put it on the wall after the break. And he gives me the sketch, and I'm so clumsy that I managed to spill his coffee on the whole table, including his solution sketch. So you can see actually on the photo, it's the sketch top right, and you can see it's still stained with coffee. And whenever I see that photo, I'm like, I'm so clumsy. I felt really so bad. Yeah. And that's something that's not happening anymore with the remote sprints, right?
I managed to do that in remote too.
Oh, you did? Yeah, but you did it for yourself.
Who said that?
Ram, hi.
Ram,
yeah.
Tell me, how did you manage with your coffee on your side, right?
So wherever there is, wherever there is something to spill, I will spill it.
You are that guy, yeah.
If you remember our meeting at AJ and Smart, I spilled water all over Jonathan's office because the bottles were just there. So maybe I should sprint about that.
Nice idea.
Yeah. Anyhow, if I'm already there, I want to tell a story. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Please, yes.
So our first sprint, we had this project, basic project for Penguin Books to do an AR app, and we looked at the budget, and we realized that we're going to be totally out of budget, but we really wanted to do that. So I talked to Orit, and I said, I heard this lecture about, I don't know, Google Design Sprint, something like that. Maybe we should try that. So we were discussing it and we sent a quote about it. And then one day before the sprint, we actually bought the book. Then every day I was reading a chapter and doing the sprint on the day after. So I really wanted to know what's happening at the end of the book. So it kept us going. It actually was the sprint saved it. This was the reason why we work with sprint, because it actually saved the project. The founders we worked with, they didn't have a clue on the solution, but they knew what they wanted to do. And we were really concerned about the experience. And when we got to the prototype, and the idea was amazing, to take a real book and put an app on it, and it makes the book come alive with animation. And you can switch the pages and you see different animation, different interaction. It sounds so great. And they had the technology, everything was working. But when we got to the prototype, it really, really was bad experience, because holding the book and the app and the kids didn't work. And it saved the project because we changed the product. We did an iteration sprint on that, and we took the entire book into the app. And so, yeah, the ending was not a happy ending of the sprint, but it was a good book. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Malin in the chat is asking for success stories. Who has a success story to share?
Yeah, and she said that Helen should go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, let's do that. Okay. Thank you, Sabrina, for the nice event you are arranging. It's super fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks
so, yes, thank you to all of us. So Malin wants me to share a success story. And I think, Malin, I think both of us, we think about the same success story. So we did a physical prototype last year. And imagine you're in a dairy, which produces milk or juice or whatever. It's maybe 30 meters long, the line where you produce the product. So you have a filling machine in the middle. And then further down in the downstream equipment, you have a machine that puts together trays with packages. And the exercise or the challenge we had in the design sprint was to help the operator. If something goes wrong with this machine, how can we help the operator to fix the problem as soon as possible? Because if it takes too long time, you have to stop the filler. And you can imagine if you have so many liters of milk coming per second in the filling machine and you have to stop it, there is so much waste and you have to clean everything. So that was the challenge for the week. And we didn't have a clue, me and Malin, what would be the prototype. So we had prepared a machine in one of our testing halls at Tetra Pak with the exact copy of this particular machine. And we had 8 participants in the design sprint, all engineers. And we came up on the Tuesday after the solution sketches to do an app with a notification to the operator that something is wrong in this machine, and lamp indications. Wow. So we had all these, I think we had 2 or 3, I don't remember, Malin, going to one of the local shops, buying lamps. And when we built the prototype on the Thursday, all these lamps, they were connected to a PC, so they would light in different orders. So when we ran the tests on the Friday, so we had an operating walking in the so-called dairy, and there was an alarm on the app, which was on the phone. And the guy went to the machine, and there was one lamp, blinking, and we said, oh, what do you think about this lamp? I think something is wrong there. Yes. So when the operator opened that door, they did something, the engineers in the background. So there was another lamp opening. So they had a series of different lamps helping this guy to find out where was the problem on the machine. I think this is still, I think since this was in April last year, I think we have done maybe 30 design sprints since this one. And this is still, I would say, such this moment, having those 5, operatings, getting the alarm, going to the machine, and all, participants, engineers, having the lamps blinking in, this particular order. It was a fantastic moment. It was so much fun. It is.
Wow, thanks for sharing that, Helen. That's amazing. You see, Jake and John, what everyone is doing with what you started. So
yeah.
How do you feel? Maybe you also want to share a success story, or just give us some, let's say, emotions right now.
Like a sprint that you were really proud about. You were like, okay, this is it. We did it.
Yeah, well, I ran 2 sprints the last 2 weeks. I was running 2 sprints with the same company, and it's a startup who's doing well with their core business, but they want to do a new thing, and that's a great time to run a sprint. But they had already made a bunch of progress on what they thought would be the MVP, and they were starting to think like, maybe this isn't the right MVP. And I haven't run many sprints over video this year. I have been, doing a lot of things, but one of the main things has not been running sprints. And I was nervous. I had signed up to do these 2 sprints, and it was going to be over video. And as the sprints approached, the 2 founders started to pay, I guess, more and more attention to the project. So they said, actually, instead of just making a cameo appearance, we're going to be in the sprint the whole time. And I was like, that's great. But I was also like, oh, geez, like, I hope it works. And like I was trying to line up all the tech, and I'm making like a new template in Miro, and I'm just like doing all this stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, geez, I hope it all works. And like the first day, like, I could tell they were like a bit skeptical about the whole process, which is always the case, and especially tough over video because you can't read everybody. And the 2 founders are like kind of disagreeing a bit with each other and kind of disagreeing a bit with the other people on the team. And I was like, oh my God, like this is tough enough to handle in person, but over video, I don't know if it's going to work. We just keep going with the sprint, and my co-facilitator and I are talking all the time, and like, okay, we do, what's your read on the team and everything. And we go through the weekend, it feels like we're going pretty good. We got the prototype, but we take on too much to prototype. I did it in Figma. I've never used Figma for prototyping before, and I was really reluctant to do it, but they had this really nice Figma file with all of their like brand stuff in it. So we decided to use Figma, and of course, like, it was hard to not stop and try to make everything perfect. That's why I don't like to use it. So spend too long on the prototype, and I'm like, man, I'm breaking all my own rules. And we do the first test on Friday morning, and like the tech wasn't working. We couldn't get the sharing to work on the other person's end of Zoom. And like the founder's like pinging me and is like, come on, like this is embarrassing for us. And I was like, oh, I'm so stressed. And then, but like we like slow down, like take a deep breath. We like, okay, wait, pause. Like, let's just take 10 minutes. It's not you to the participant, and it's the tech. Don't worry, we're not testing you. Let's just take our time. We get Zoom going. Finally, we just sort of like get all the kinks worked out. We run the test, and I have like no idea, like we run all our tests throughout the day, and then we're recapping with the team, and the founders are like, that was amazing. Like that was the best week of our we've had all year. And the next week we do it again, we sprint again, and we have to pivot and go in a different direction. And by the end, they've got confidence in one of these 2 prototypes we've tested head to head, and they're like really excited about it. And we do the recap at the end, and we're talking about our key learnings. I use a little template that Steph showed me that was really cool for kind of asking everybody to give their key learnings. And they were like, they were kind of like you couldn't really read them most of the time, but then at the end they were like, this is so amazing. Like they're talking to different people on the team. They're like, I haven't had the chance to work with you, directly. Like, it feels like we just have a half-hour meeting here, a half-hour meeting there. I got to see how smart you guys are. It was just like a big, like, like virtual hug fest. And it was so cool to see the power of it, especially because I've been so stressed the whole time. Like, I didn't know that it was working. I was thinking like, this is a disaster. And I just thought like how cool it is to get to be in the room. I mean, the truth is that I was in the right place at the right time to have the chance to mess with processes and get to do this. But there's nothing in the design sprint itself that's not kind of obvious. And I think anyone who was in the spot that I was in would have come up with something like this. But what's been really special for me about the last 10 years, and what's so special about seeing all of you, is that this opportunity to be in the room with people when they're working on the thing that's most important, the most important part of something that they've already chosen to focus their career on, right? Or like to focus their work on. It's such a special moment to be there. It's such a great opportunity to help them, you know, to be like the butler who helps to bring the right thing at the right time so that they can do the thing that they want to do. And I feel lucky to have been the butler who was able to have the pieces and the time and the weird job that allowed me to find the pieces to bring to you all so you can do it for other people. But that's what we are, you know, we're butlers helping other people to do the thing that matters most to them, and helping to, I think, unlock something that's really special, like a moment that's really special for people in their work, and something that brings them closer to their customers so that their work in turn is touching other people in a deeper and more important way. And I just think it's really lucky and really special. And I'm so grateful that all of you would spend the time to talk about this for as long as you have, and to come here, and that you're doing the work that you're doing. And I just want to let you all know how much I appreciate you, and you know, here's to the next 10 years.
Woo! 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 There is no way we can continue after that.
We want to hear a story from John as well.
John.
Yeah, can you also share?
There's no way I can follow that eloquent and heartfelt send off. So I will pass. That was,
it's true.
that was like such a natural way to sort of bring things together that I could share with you a sprint story, but it wouldn't be as good.
What should we do, Sabrina?
Yeah. So I have an idea, because I would like to go a bit beyond the design sprint. And I saw also in the chat, Jeroen, you are there. So he would like to share a story where, let's say, what is not obvious, what we were talking about, like a product success or something like that, but more about people. Jeroen, you are still.
Yeah, I was just observing the crowd. I was listening to the stories, and what amazes me is there's so many great stories about how the design sprint as a methodology, as a process, as an event is impacting product development, service development, let's say from the content point of view. But I'm realizing sitting here that I wouldn't be sitting here if I would never had bought the book, if I would never had participated in the global virtual design sprint with Robert, for instance. I would never have met Sabrina, Daniel, many others here on that board that I now collaborate with as an entrepreneur. We would never have started the talent sprint. We would never have engaged with teenagers. It's amazing to see how a methodology documented by Jake and John in a book and that's being activated is of course impacting a lot of new value in organizations, products and services. But I think there's a hidden value, and that it's also that the passion for the design sprint or for design thinking or related is bringing people together and developing it to the next level, and not only the methodology and the collaborations, but also purely the business intimacy, the professional intimacy that can come out of that. Different stories, but I can tell you here, and I was just publishing an article about my this year, but just a simple example, if Daniel Herrera and I would not have met during the global virtual design sprint with a passion for the design sprint, we would never have started up with Sandy and a few others, Project 100, and impact 100 people in 8 months by finding their purpose. That would have never happened if the design sprint wasn't there, because we would never have met. And I just want to acknowledge also that sometimes these movements do more than just creating value for industry.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing that. I think I just want to continue. Now I tell a totally different story. But what in the, let's say, the last few projects I did, people approaching me now also, can we do a design sprint? And they don't need a design sprint. But most of all, it's all about people. It's all about, we have a problem reaching our whatever goal, with these, let's say, these teams, because they have some issues, they have hidden agendas, whatever. So that's something I realized in the last few months, that this is, let's say, on my table, one of the main topics. So I think, therefore, just aligning teams and bringing people together is one of the most important things here. Orit. Yeah.
I'm just enjoying everyone's stories, and I'm thinking that it would be really nice if we could just like have something later on where everyone could just post like their 1 minute, 2 minute like stories like this, because it's just so inspiring to see how like it's not all perfect. Things go wrong, internets don't work and all this stuff, and it's still and we continue. And I think really it also, what's really nice with the bringing people together is that kind of the egos go away. Like before, it's not like there wasn't any collaboration. There was collaboration, but it was like the ego just crept in. It still creeps in, but like, it just like was just kind of like, and now it's just like down, and now you can really create, So it's like, it's just a wonderful contribution to creation. So thank you.
Yeah, it's so I hear maybe something I would like to ask both of you. Where do you see the design sprint, let's say, in the next 10 years? So like a future vision, when you just observe what we document, what we tell you. A wish, vision.
I have a.
Well, I hope that
you go first, John. You go first.
I hope that the pandemic ends so we can have sprints in person again, because that would be amazing. I hope the future of the design sprint is the same as the past. But at the same time, it has been really amazing to like be forced to confront the reality of remote sprints, and it's something that both Jake and I were kind of, we were hesitant about. We weren't like, itching to do remote design sprints, but it's pretty amazing. I mean, there's so many advantages to doing it remotely, aside from the simple fact that you can, just being able to bring people together from different locations, different roles at different times. It's really great. I don't know what the future is. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that I'm really interested in and excited by. I'm really interested in having better tools for the design sprint. And I was fascinated by Lee's idea of an asynchronous sprint. I've sort of imagined for a long time there ought to be a sort of kind of something in between, like a slide deck, but it's also a virtual whiteboard, but it's also a template, and it's also kind of like an AI facilitator where like, if you don't have a strong facilitator, you don't have access to one, you can click start sprint and it like takes you through, like it sends you emails, it like sets everything up. Like, I think that's a really interesting opportunity. I think that like, for me, one of the most mind-blowing things is seeing how the design sprint keeps getting used in different settings that are so far and so different from where it began at Google and at Google Ventures. And so, I'm excited to see that continue. And then I know, like, when Jake and I chat about stuff, we often are, I think we're often like interested in some of the variations on the sprint process that we've used, like, brand sprints and opportunity sprints and things like that like we haven't really spent a lot of time focused on or documented, but when we do them, like, they work so well, and they're so, like, it's exciting to see, like, not just changing the scope or the focus of a design sprint, but taking the same ideas and concepts and repackaging them in a way that's very different. That's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to working on kind of making those things as established and fully tested and defined as the standard design sprint is.
Jake, you wanted to.
Well, I was just going to say that I have a much less satisfying answer. I think asking me what's next for design sprints is like going up to a tree after winter that has a few green leaves on it, just starting to sprout out, and saying to the tree, what's the next season for you after spring? And I'm like, hey, I'm still working on growing these leaves. Spring is still a lot to do on spring. I think there's like so much to do to make the design sprint work. You know, obviously to make the design sprint work well remotely, like there's still a lot of room to make that better and better and better. There's still a lot of room to spread the word of design sprints and help more people do it, you know, at a higher level, to have more confidence, to have the tools they need to convince folks to do it, to know when it's the right time, to know when it's not the right time. It's something that to those of us, you know, on this call, the design sprint is everywhere, maybe for us, but for most people, they've never heard of it, you know, and the design sprint is really hard. It's a lot of work to do a sprint. It takes a lot of time, and I don't know how you guys feel, but man, after a day of running a sprint, I'm wiped out. You know, it's fun. It's powerful. It's fun. It feels like the right way to spend that effort, but it's not easy. It's not like saying, hey, why don't you try this new checklist? You know, it's a big thing to ask people to do. It's not something one person can do on their own in 15 minutes. And so it's amazing that people are doing it at all because it's so hard, but it's also, that means it's going to be a very slow and, you know, I think powerful, but very slow wave of getting this idea spread. And there's still easily 10 more years, I think, of work to continue to spread it, to continue to get to the point. I would love to see it be to the point where everybody knows when to use a design sprint in the work that they're doing, when to bring people together and work in this way. And that alone would be really powerful. If that was just, you know, if it was just spread to the folks who could use it, that could take forever. But hopefully 10 years. I'd feel really good if we got there in 10.
Thanks for sharing that. I would like to add on to that. So what I think the design sprint now spread more and more and goes into areas where you wouldn't expect it to be. I know that Tessa is here as well, and she's doing legal design. So using the design sprint methodology to improve or to make the, let's say, the legal products more human, I think that's such a great thing. And I also see that in AI projects, in voice projects. I think there is so much in this area where you can use the design sprint methodology. So I think there is much space. I think in the future we will see many more ways to implement the design sprint.
And one application that a domain where I think design sprints could be very useful is to demystify strategy work, because everybody thinks that strategy work is very difficult. It's only for a few people, and we can see we run quite many design sprint which is on a very quite complex strategic level. And I think you can maybe tweak the design sprint a bit to better master that type of challenge. I think that could be something really useful to simplify it, to have it simplified. Yeah.
And to add on that, let me just ask one quick question. Jake, when is your son going to be sprinting?
He has been.
I don't know if I can keep them from getting sick of the idea. They hear me talking about it all the time, so we'll see.
There was someone, and I would like.
If he's going to rebel, he'll do waterfall. It will be like that.
Write a book about that.
He's going to bring back waterfalls.
Let's get waterfall.
Back again. What a great idea.
Great. One thing, everyone, we didn't have time to hear all your stories, but we're sure they are amazing. So please, on the board, if you have time, record a short video of yourself, put it on YouTube, and add the YouTube video link of you telling the story, because we're gonna cherish this board. We're gonna go back to this board. I would like to hear all your stories, and that would be amazing if you would take a bit of time to add them on the board. That would be really, really cool if you can.
Yeah, you can also use a Loom video.
Yeah.
Maybe even easier. And I also would like to add something to what I said before. Strategy sprint is also something very, very interesting. And the next meetup will take place in January with Marco Velasco, who is also here in the crowd. And he will be presenting and talking with us and showing us his process, where he, let's say, mixed up playing to win, the playing to win concept with the design sprint. So I think this is where I see a lot of really crazy new things, and it's maybe not new, but there's so much room, so many ways to improve the way we are working with people, with teams, so where we can integrate.
Yeah. One thing that everyone needs to understand really is that it's 5 years, we do sprints, but we are still scratching the surface of what can be done with the sprint. We are still all starting, and the years to come, I guess we're gonna have more and more credibility. We're gonna get cooler and cooler projects. And you know what? COVID brought so much of mess that we have to fix and to redesign that, we're gonna have work with sprints. So I see a bright future for us in the community.
That's great to hear, Steph.
Yeah, you know what? I'm really feeling optimistic for the years to come, because what we have here is really amazing, and seeing people collaborating together, that's the way to move forward.
For sure.
You're optimistic about what a mess the world is.
No, but you know what? You need a mess to it's the best way to challenge designers, right? Right?
Yeah, and we need the sponsors of this world to just say, give us the budgets to do the design sprints as well.
I think that's
our task. We need to spread the word. We need to show them it works.
So everyone, wherever you are, whatever the type of sprint you are running, how many sprints you have run, you have a role to play in your city, in your country. Spread the word, because just a great thing to do.
I see Andy wants to tell us something. You need to unmute yourself.
So Robert is telling that my time timer doesn't work. It is working, just that one doesn't have batteries. Sorry.
Hey, Sabrina. And Jake, I just want to say again, thanks for the book. It is the thing that always amazes me about any design sprint interactions is the energy that it creates in the room. And no matter how daunting the task or the activity or the intensity, everyone always leaves the room, at least in my experiences, with this human energy and this purpose that drives things forward. And so if for no other reason, I will tell people, do a design sprint if you just need to start bringing your culture together. And if you just need to start bringing teams together and helping them understand what it means to work together in a meaningful way. And lots of stories to share around that, but to me, it's just beautiful, and everything else is gravy on top of that. So thanks again.
Oh, thank you, Andy. That's awesome. What an awesome sentiment. And I don't know what you guys think, but maybe we should close on that, because you can't get more essential and core to what I think all of us are trying to do than that. That's so cool. And you guys, I wish you the best 2021. And I think, as folks have said, I think there's a bright future ahead. I mean, it can't be worse than 2020, but bring people together, like Andy said, it'd be great.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jake.
See you later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for being with us.
Hi, thank you.
Steph, I gotta have this track.
This is not that bad, finally.
No, this OO is genius. So bad. this is the Orit song. Oh.
Yeah, Tessa, we're gonna need you. Oh. Thank you everyone for coming. This was great. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Jake. Thank you, John. You guys rock.
Please, everyone dance.
Oh wait, I forgot my daughter's confetti. She made it. Look.
Oh,
She made
look at that.
well.
She made a confetti. Here we go.
This doesn't work.
It worked.
Super complicated. The worst. Okay, that's the end of the track. Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks,
Sabrina.
Jake.
Thanks, Sabrina.
Thanks, Jake.
Guys.
Thanks for coming. See you next year.
If not before.
Thank you all. Do you have one more music? Just
That was the worst song ever.
Really, really bad.
Wow, that's so crappy. Oh. It's gonna get